Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is looking at people who have the sun in Taurus and the moon in Pisces. So we have a combination of earth and water, which is actually harmonious as these two elements go together. It forms a sextile. Not everybody who has the sun and moon will have an official sextile though, because of the degree span between those two planets, but it is considered harmonious in terms of elements. However, there are some differences between the signs of Taurus and Pisces. The earth element that Taurus represents and the house that Taurus represents is the second house. And this is the house of earned income and possessions, self-esteem too, which isn't some material thing, but we really emphasize the money angle when we talk about the second house. And so there's a practical side to Taurus people. And this is aspirational, meaning that this is a goal of a Taurus person, regardless of their other astrological influences or whatever other influences you want to talk about. Their goal will usually be that they want to have abundance in their life. Now, of course, everybody may say the same thing, but for Taurus, it's almost like their spiritual path in a sense, because remember that even the North Node, which is supposed to be your soul's mission, some people have it in the earth element, like Taurus, for example, or Virgo or Capricorn. So maybe it's that the soul really came to master the earth, master the material resources. And this is what I mean when I say it. I don't mean somebody who's just totally self-indulgent and totally materialistic. That's not really what I mean. Although, Taurus people can sometimes appear that way for sure. And they might actually be materialistic because their sun sign is Taurus, and maybe they have Mars in Taurus. You never know. They could have other personal planets in Taurus as well. So the reason I emphasize that is because the moon, the emotional, intuitive nature, is in the sign of Pisces, and Pisces ruler is Neptune. So the ruler of Taurus is Venus, and Venus and Neptune both, if I had to say something they have in common, is things created to artistic creations, as well as romantic common traits. But the point is that Neptune can be very unrealistic. And so the moon in Pisces, regardless of what the sun sign is, can indicate someone who loves almost irrationally. I do believe that people who have a prominent Pisces, whether it's sun, moon, rising, any inner planet, but especially sun, moon, and or rising, can have trauma that has affected them quite a bit, meaning that they are so sensitive that it has really impacted how they see themselves and how they view life itself. So when you're dealing with something like this, it's important to honor that part of yourself, because the moon is the way that we feel safe. So it's kind of like our desire for security. And when someone has the moon in Pisces, their security can lie in this ideal of life that they have created for themselves, sometimes rather maybe I was going to say delusionally, if that is such a word, but this to kind of calm themselves, to kind of make themselves feel better, but is not necessarily reality. And reality is relative, obviously, so we don't want to be too attached to the concept of reality. But still, there can be people who are very sensitive in this world to the harshness of this world. And people with the moon in Pisces are, up there on the list. So it's a very sensitive emotional position. I think that the sun being in Taurus helps, though, because the person may be more inclined to accept, to want to be grounded and to want to deal with so-called reality than someone of another sign. And so that can help the person anchor themselves into the truth of this world, which, yes, it is temporary, but it still affects us on a day-to-day level. Normally, there's a great amount of common sense with the sun in Taurus. When the moon is in Pisces, this can be a little bit lessened when it comes to relationships, because the person tends to have a high tolerance for people who are problematic. There is unconditional love that is coming from Pisces, which sounds really good in theory, but in reality, I feel that a lot of people who have the moon in Pisces suffer in their relationships sometimes because they put their faith in the wrong person. They, went towards the person who was unkind to them, and they rejected the kind person. I have personal experience with this, and I like to observe things. And that has been my observation, that this is the pattern that occurs, where the Pisces individual, the moon in Pisces, or the sun in Pisces too can be sometimes, will reject the person who actually does love them or is trying to, show kindness to them, and they will gravitate towards a person who is really incapable of loving anyone. Maybe they're an addict because they don't love themselves. So it's very hard for them to even function well enough to do that. This can also extend to your finances or affect your finances if you are the one who is caught up in a relationship with somebody who may be trying to use you for your money. Especially if you have Venus in Taurus as well as the sun sign in Taurus, because the mentality that the person has is that love, I'm talking about the person who has Venus in Taurus, for instance, is that the person, is that love involves finances, that, you have to, that by giving somebody something material, that's how you show affection to them. And sometimes buried deep down inside, there might be an ulterior motive, like they want to make sure that that person will commit to them, or, like something on the insecure side that makes that individual give financially. I'm not talking about being generous with your partner in appropriate ways. I mean, that goes without saying, like going out to dinner and maybe treating another person that you're interested in. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when it seems very clear, maybe to other people, that there isn't really much of a relationship there. Most of it is based on the material. And sometimes another thing too can be the sex. The physical attraction can substitute for true intimacy. So be very aware of why you are doing what you're doing in relationships, Taurus. And I'm addressing you that way, knowing that your moon is in Pisces, and you may find yourself in these kind of like, how would I put it, impossible relationships where the other person would need to really get their act together. And I think that the moon in Pisces thinks that they can love somebody through something. And because your sun is in Taurus, you may be very attractive to another person because you do have that grounded quality to you. Maybe you have a full-time job and you're only 20 years old, and everybody your age that is from your neighborhood is unable to support themselves or barely able to support themselves, and you from a young age have been able to excel at that, because Taurus is a sign that is very savvy with money. Even if you like to spend it, you still may be very comfortable around this area, and so you tend to attract it. But Taurus has no problem working for the money that it earns. So that's one thing that is a benefit to you, is that you don't expect it to drop in your lap. You expect that you're going to have to make some effort to get that money. So even though these two signs are harmonious to one another, it is important for this brand of Taurus to make sure that they are aware of the company that they're keeping, because since the moon, which is the emotional nature, is in the sign of Pisces, the person can be very emotionally impressionable. And that means that they're like a natural empath who absorbs the energies of other people. And if that person that they happen to be around is negative, for instance, that can really adversely affect such a person. So typically, Taurus as a sign tends to favor a more rational approach to life, and is more on an even keel. And I'm just talking about, like, let's say if the moon were in Capricorn or something, the person would be a double earth, and they would really just kind of feel maybe more grounded, even emotionally, like things wouldn't necessarily get under their skin. And same thing with air signs, which are also pretty detached, very detached, actually. If your moon sign were in one of the air signs, that could also be the case. But with water, no, it makes a person very emotional. Now, some people may not see that front and center with you because the sun influence is very influential. And, in casual encounters, that might not be so noticeable. But people will definitely see how touched you are emotionally, especially by things that are, garner sympathy. People that have problems, you have your, very soft touch. And this is why I say that can lead sometimes to exploitation. And it's not to suggest that you have to be paranoid. It's just saying that if you sacrifice your own well-being to attempt to help somebody else, and a lot of times that's an illusion, like somebody who has an addiction, and you think that if you love them enough, you can love them out of that addiction, or if you can try to be supportive of them enough, give them enough money, give them enough attention, that they're going to stop doing whatever it is that they're doing. No, because addictions become physical, and sometimes they need intervention, and also, medical intervention, but also a person's mind can get very distorted and their behaviors can be very distorted, and you might be dealing with somebody who is lying pathologically, and you may choose to believe their lies, even though you know in your heart of hearts that that person isn't telling the truth. In the tarot, one of the cards that depicts Pisces is the Page of Cups, and there is this kind of, it's like a childlike naivete that it connects with. And sometimes it can be very guileless and it's charming, and sometimes it can be very self-destructive. And it can also be destructive for the other person because it enables dysfunctional behavior. So by always honoring yourself and seeing if a relationship is dragging you down and staying away from that, you can go a long way in protecting your energy, because this is truly psychic and empathic, and protecting your energy may be crucial for somebody with the moon in Pisces. So in relationships, suffice it to say, you may, especially when you're younger, get involved in relationships where you are dominated or otherwise, or you're duped by someone. And it could have, like I said, a financial component sometimes, since your sun is in Taurus. And or there could be like even a soulmate connection. Definitely this is a very romantic combination. It's great for the artist and somebody who's inspired by love to create art. So that could be the kind of profession that you find yourself attracted to. But in terms of whether you can commit to somebody, yes, you have the opportunity to love very deeply, as long as you find a person who is worthy of your love, who isn't going to exploit it. And other careers besides art can involve, to me, anything with taking care of children, nurturing children, only because the Pisces moon is very loving. Also, healthcare field for sure, because Taurus is earth and can be the body, and Pisces is the Cancer is the nurturer, but Pisces rules the 12th house, which can be hospital. So it does have its own connection to the healthcare field. And the idea of sacrificing oneself for the benefit of others can be, people who are nurses, for instance. I'm not even talking about doctors, and of course it could be doctors, but the nurse can be a very self-sacrificing and work, many hours on their feet. And maybe even like a physical therapist, because if you have earth, you have this natural connection to things of this material world, including the physical body. And then with the moon in Pisces, you have this great intuitive side that can really maybe like intuit certain things that are going on that you can't necessarily discern with the five senses. If you went into any kind of a spiritual field, which you certainly could, you would really favor things that are constructive and, like grounded, not kind of pie in the sky, abstract types of messages, like if you were doing the tarot or what have you. You may want to be a healer, but even like massage therapy can be something that's very tactile. Because I was going to say, maybe if you did mix it with Reiki, you might also do the physical, touch. Okay, that's what I have for you, Taurus. I hope that this resonated. If you would like a personal reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.